Now we'll go sailing some more, but let's talk about the lazy jacks and handling the mainsail. The lazy jacks, when they're put away, fasten to a big button on the gooseneck. And you release one side, reach around and release the other side from the button, and then pull on the lazy jack haul, which pulls that basket of small lines up on each side of the mainsail. You can drop the main line, it'll come down like a ton of bricks. It always comes down very nicely, and it'll stay that way in an anchorage overnight. I usually go back to the back end of the boom and lift it up and hook it onto that wire pendant that hangs from the backstay bridle junction. That takes the load off of the backstay and contains the boom. And then I usually put at least one stop on it for overnight. In order to drop the lazy jacks, though, you have to put 3 stops on the mainsail. And then release the lazy jack haul and reach up and just grab one of them and pull them toward you until you get to the junction that's up aloft, and then grab all 3 of them and jerk on them and hook them underneath that button. Do the same thing on the other side, and now the mainsail is ready to have the sail cover installed, or she's secure for overnight in a squally anchorage. Now let's talk about Scrimshaw's rather unique anchoring system. I usually use just one boat length of chain on the anchor and be sure that the boat is moving backwards before you start letting out chain. And then it comes to the road, the 2 lines, and note that there are 2 lines fastened to the end of the chain. Let those out and give her as much scope as you want.
This is a snap shackle. It snaps like that, and it's on a swivel. And then the block has a gate in it that opens up like so. So you can lay a line in there without having to feed it through. You can lay it in. Thus the swivel snap shackle snatch block.
So there's one of those fancy blocks that attaches to special fittings on each of the float bows, and you lead the 2 anchor rods from the chain from each side back to the boat and make them up onto the anchor cleats that are each side of the forward hatch. The loose ends of the anchor line, the lazy ends, still lead out through the bow but come back into the anchor locker. And this diagonal line here is the anchor line. It goes out through the snatch block in the port bow all the way down to the chain. And then the second anchor line starts at the chain and comes up through the other snatch block on the starboard float bow, and both of them lead back to the cleats that are each side of the hatch.
Our Chesapeake breezes are generally very light in the summertime, so we often leave the anchor bridle rigged up so that it's easy to just drop the anchor. But if you're going to sea, of course, you get everything back into the well.
The reason that the anchor cleats are near the hatch is so that you can stick your head out on a stormy night and let out more scope without going on deck. But this anchor bridle system will allow the boat to sit dead head to windward in a very hard blow. And the really important part of it is the snatch blocks, because the line can roll through the snatch blocks without chafe. And it's chafe that has caused the loss of so many boats by their anchor lines chafing through when the vessels are unattended. So it's an important tactic. And Scrimshaw will lie to a blow for another reason. The rudder kicks up. It allows the boat to weather. This is my friend Eric Kofer. Quickly to changing gusts. But of course, if you're berthed in a place like this, you want to make darn sure the boat can't shift aft because it might damage the rudder. And note that we're tied up to a rasty dock here, and so I'm using a chafing board, a big plank that's tied between the dock and the fenders, and the board is tied to the boat so it floats up and down with the tide with the boat. I'm sorry, my computer's having a little trouble here. Notice that the sail cover is lined. The old sail cover was orange. I just cut it down and stitched it inside of the new sail cover so that we got a double layer of sunbrella to protect these expensive mainsails. In my view, one layer sunbrella is not enough protection to leave an expensive mainsail out in the sun for years on end. There's a Velcro flap over the zipper. Keep the zipper out of the sun. Over the years, the sunlight had penetrated through this translucent hatch cover to damage the coating in the head. It was starting to crack in places. And so I just throw if I'm going to leave the boat alone for a long time, I just throw this piece of canvas over the hatch and fold it under and close the lid on it, just to keep the sun out of here. The sun coming in this window was, damaging the textiles and stuff in the forward cabin, so I made a cover for it. And there's a difference between these window covers. The ones for the forward bunk are double thick. They got another layer inside of them so that you can really darken the bunk for sleeping. The cover for the after windows that goes in the galley, that shine into the galley, they're just one layer thick, so they'll let some light in, so you can see what you're doing even if the cover's on in the galley.